Thoughts are things. You ever heard that? Maybe you've heard of the law of attraction. What you think about, you bring about. That ain't true. Matter of fact, that could take you on a detour that lead you spinning your wheels for about 3 to 10 years. I've talked to a lot of people who are stuck trying to change their thought. I've heard the law of attraction. I've heard the secret. Why can't I change my thought? It's so hard. That's because your thoughts are like the fruits. You go to a tree, you pick the fruit. Okay, I understand this is an orange tree. Why would you go to an avocado tree and be mad that it doesn't have bananas? Are you gonna keep going back to that tree? What you would do is you would dig up the tree and change the roots. You need to plant a new tree. And if you want to change your life, don't focus on the fruits, focus on the roots. What are the roots? In this video, we're going over the 5 best ideas from this little booklet, Feeling is the Secret. Here's the first big idea. An analogy I heard that sums this all up in a concise manner. Your thoughts are files on a computer. You picture a messy desktop with a bunch of different files. That's what a thought is. Do they still like me? Are they gonna text me back? How am I gonna get $1 million? But what can you do with files on a computer? If they're similar, you can package them up in a folder. A folder represents an emotion. An emotion can have unlimited amount of thoughts attached to it. One single emotion. Think about it. We've all had a friend or a buddy who got out of a terrible relationship. I'm never dating women again. All women are gonna break your heart. They're out to get you. Screw them. He's going through the pain. He has that emotion. He has those thoughts. 2 months later, boy meets girl and he's head over heels in love. You're looking at him like, dude, what happened, man? I thought 2 months ago, weren't you the guy who was like, never again? Looks at you and he says, what? This time it feels different. She makes me feel crazy. He had such a peak experience on the date with the person, the new one. It overrode a myriad of bad experiences, of bad thoughts. That's the power of emotions. You look at investing, what do they say? Take emotion out of it. Not because emotion is bad or less than, but because subconsciously we probably know how powerful it is. Look, the most important part of this video at the very top, and why we're spending some time here on it, is that feeling is the secret. Stop trying to just change your thoughts over and over and over again. Change. And start trying to get to the root of the emotions, which is the feeling. In your manifestation techniques, don't just do them, don't just sit there, feel them. In your affirmations, don't just recite it, I am lovable, I love myself. Feel it. When you're looking at your goals, don't just see a list of text that you've seen a million times. It's like, all right, there it is. Feel it. Which brings us to our second big idea in this video. You have such a superpower computer, your subconscious mind. Everyone thinks about their minds. You see this clip art of a brain and it's just like this one conglomerate thing. We're still learning a lot about the brain. I find it infinitely fascinating and new science is coming out every single year. One thing that's pretty clear though is you can think of your brain not just as like one just gray matter right there in your skull, but divided into multiple parts with all different functions that work in harmony. There's your conscious mind, which you and I are talking right now. You're understanding me. This is, you're conscious. But then there's also your subconscious mind. This is what's working in the background and it never turns off. And it's a good thing. Your subconscious doesn't actually have its own horsepower. It just goes on and accepts whatever the conscious mind feeds it. And it believes it is true. Like a sponge that just soaks up your life experiences and it holds on to it. That's why they say kids are really impressionable, because what are they doing? They're just soaking up every single thing. In fact, depending on the research you look at, kids are pretty much in a subconscious, almost haze up until the age of about 14. You look at the brainwave activity, they're predominantly in the theta state, without getting too far into the neuroscience of it. That is almost the dreamlike subconscious activating brainwave. What's the point? Why is this relevant to you in manifesting and getting the life you want? Unless you influence your subconscious mind, unless you have the power behind it, it's like you're swimming upstream. In fact, a lot of times what I've found working with clients in our program Metamorphic is that so many times it's not about what we do, it's about what we remove. Not always about putting new ideas in, new information in, as much as it is pulling bad ideas, bad beliefs, old, outdated ones and stories out. This changed my life. And it's actually our third point, that unaddressed negative emotions can spiral your life and put a block, a dam in the river of your flow of the abundant universe. That's a word salad. Neville Goddard talked about even 50 years ago how disease in the body can come from emotional and unresolved traumas. Disease, dis-ease. If your thoughts, if your emotions aren't in alignment, if you have unresolved baggage, why do we call it that term? baggage, because you're literally carrying around the stories, traumas, negative beliefs, limiting beliefs, issues in your past that are unresolved, people you need to forgive, and that's a weight. That's why we call it baggage. They have a lot of baggage. She's got so much baggage. He has so much weight. He's carrying it around with him. He needs to resolve that dis-ease. Suppressed emotions can really mess with your physical health. If you read books like The Body Keeps the Score, a fantastic book documenting how when you resolve emotional trauma through shadow work, cognitive behavioral therapy, EBT therapy, NLP, different modalities, that physical symptoms can often go away, resolve, get significantly better. Think about it. You ever been low in your life and then for whatever reason you snapped out of it, you had more energy, didn't you? Being sad zaps you of all that potential there. You don't need an espresso shot. You don't need an energy drink. You need to resolve some of that unresolved baggage. And when you do that, your manifestation power, it's gonna go up. NLP is one of my favorite tools, neuro-linguistic programming, because you don't work with the behavior or the thoughts itself. You're actually pulling back the layers and getting to the root. But NLP, there's a lot of, I don't mean this offensively, like untrained, not the greatest practitioners out there. Sometimes that can make it worse and it's just a waste of time and money. That's why in our metamorphic coaching program, it's really cool. I have an in-house NLP coach I personally worked with. I pair them up with every single one of my clients. And this is the thing hands down that like unlocks people's potential. People wanted relationships, they couldn't get in one, then they do NLP and boom, by the end of 2 months, they have amazing. And so I'm telling you that because yeah, NLP is good. You can try some on yourself. You just Google NLP techniques. You can go to shadow work techniques. But if you're ever interested in like getting professional help with that, our coaching program, Metamorphic, down below, click the link or don't, it's up to you. Book a call or don't, it's up to you. And one of our coaches can explain a little bit more about this subject with you and see if it's something that's even a good fit. Fourth big idea from Feeling is the Secret. Neville Goddard spends a great deal of time talking about the power of sleep. He says that sleep is actually the doorway to heaven. Neville Goddard was very big on never going to bed feeling regretful, resentful, discouraged, that you should take it so seriously going to bed at night, put yourself in a positive state, and see your wishes fulfilled, what you want to manifest. He would freak out if he knew that we were all watching Law & Order SVU on Netflix reruns, some hack and slash film, bright, screaming, trying to fall asleep, and you wake up at 4 a.m., turn it off. He would freak out because he says that whatever there's like the last thing to think about before you go to bed, that's what you're gonna take into the chambers, right? That's what you're gonna put into your subconscious mind. That's what you're gonna dwell on. Biggest takeaway from that, there's a window of time before you go to bed and first thing in the morning when you wake up. We talk about this in my Metamorphic program. If you look at your brainwaves throughout the day, there's beta, alpha, theta, delta. Alpha and beta waves are more of conscious. Your subconscious mind is theta, and the deep, deep monks that are trained for like, 10, 20, 30 years of like 10 hours a day of meditation, Himalayas, they're in the delta state. They're badasses when you hook them up to brainwaves. That theta state, your brain will dip into occasionally in deep meditation if you're trained, or as you're drifting off at night. What's my point? Your subconscious mind is accessed and programmed in that theta state. Thinking back to our earlier conversation about programming and kids and when they're developing and they're a sponge soaking things up, they're predominantly in a theta state. That's why first thing, the childhood, they are a sponge. Bringing this whole thing together, that's why childhood trauma can really affect and mess someone up. And you can be 20, 30, 40, 50, it doesn't even matter how old you are, and still have things that are affecting you from your childhood because that's so deep in the subconscious. See how this whole thing comes together? And the last thing Neville Goddard really talks about, big idea here, the importance of prayer. What is that? It's putting your manifestations out there, your goals, your desires, your wishes. That's essentially what prayer is. Having an intentional time where you're putting your thoughts out there, right? It's also been said that worrying is praying to the devil. Here's what he says about prayer though that I want to share with you. When you emerge from the moment of prayer, it is as though you were shown the happy and successful end of a play, although you were not shown how the end was achieved. However, having witnessed the end of that play, regardless of any anticlimactic sequence, you remain calm and secure in the knowledge that the end has been perfectly defined. Think of a movie right now. How many acts are there? There's only 3, beginning, middle, end. If you know what the end is, you know your goal, you know that state, and you're in the beginning or the middle, the only thing left is this gap in between. And so many people, they focus on the how. How am I gonna close that gap? How am I gonna do that gap? What's the tactics? What's the tools? They get caught up in what? Thought. That's not what it's about. You already know the beginning and maybe the middle, maybe you don't. You know the end. Your mind is a master at filling in that gap in between. It's a master of storytelling and meaning making. It's a meaning making machine. Focus on the why and the what and how is actually going to present itself. There's a lot to take in there. How do you actually do that? There are techniques that Neville has. We've done a video on them. I'll link it down below. It's a perfect next video beyond this. But if you're ready to like influence that subconscious mind, that's exactly what we do. It's a whole 6-week intensive that we have in our Metamorphic coaching program. That's really creating the 2.0 you. I'll link down below where you can apply and speak to one of our coaches that can fill you in a bit more. It's not some awkward, stiff, boring call. These are fun, personally trained by me. We all work together. A member from my team can walk you through all the details. And if it's a good fit, fantastic. If it's not a good fit, we'll let you know. No worries. If you like this Neville Goddard video, go watch this one. It's got a few techniques I know you'll love.